Good evening, everybody, and welcome to In the Metro. I am your allergy-infested host, Chuck Hill, and we have with us tonight also the ever-present Miss Kim Pearson. And joining us later on in the show is going to be Mr. Danny Meredith.
Well, hello.
How you doing?
Well, I'm going to ask you how you're doing, but we already can kind of hear and tell.
I've had better
So
days.
what's going on?
I've had better weeks.
Is it allergies? Is it
Yeah.
the COVID? Is it the
Not
flu? What
COVID.
do we got going on?
It's not COVID. The only symptoms I really have are just the nasal drainage and the cough, which will not go away. I get it about every year about this time. About every year about this time, and nothing works. Matter of fact, I even put a post on Facebook earlier. I've tried all the over-the-counter stuff.
I see all the stuff you listed. I did not see syrup with coating on there, though.
So I don't know that I can get that without a script.
I don't know why you think that.
Codeine?
Yeah.
I mean, as I'm going to go see the guy down at the corner, I might be able to get it. Is that what you're doing over there in Ward 3? You got a guy over there?
Well, what makes you think it's Ward 3? Wait a minute. Hold it. Ward 3, we're a little bit more upper class than that. But I'm pretty sure
they're actually dealing in the crack cocaine over there.
It's not just the meth.
By the way, let's talk a little bit about this. You look very great on the camera this evening.
Hey, yeah.
Let's see that beautiful visage. She no longer looks like a Smurf.
I appreciate that.
So we are very happy about that. We've been able to upgrade another camera in here.
Actual tonight because I am windburn and sunburn from some activities yesterday.
Gotcha. How was your weekend?
It was jam-packed. We went to the Chain of Rocks Bridge and did some lives out there and some video. Walked out on the barrels. Went with 3 people that had never been out there. So it's always an experience to walk that bridge with someone and then to take them down to the barrels too.
That's where we used to hang out all the time.
Yeah,
we had fires down there and stuff. And
you start telling them about your. Then I'm like,
I don't tell everything.
Some memories just need to be not talked about. But I also went somewhere that I had never been before since we are in the metro.
Yeah.
Have any of you been to the Gateway Geyser or even know what it is?
I know it, never been there.
Over in East St. Louis?
Yes.
Do they still have it running?
Okay, well, it's dying out thanks to the jerks of alligator snapping turtles have destroyed it.
Mm.
And it's so old. It's 30 years old, I think, this year. And the parts we just can't find the parts. So now you're talking about rebuilding it, and it's very, very expensive. I hope that they do, but then that's why I went. Then I found out, well, even if it was running, it doesn't run until April. I think it's April to October.
Yeah.
But there are so many other things there that it's worth going. And as soon as you take that exit that gets you into East St. Louis, you're not really driving into East St. Louis. You're hitting, as soon as you drive in, you're hitting that where you make a right to go to the Casino Queen or the Gateway Geyser. And it is literally right around that corner. It's probably the size of our Wilson Park minus any trees. There wasn't a single tree in the whole park. There was also not a single piece of debris or trash.
Nice.
That's impressive.
There you go.
That is impressive.
Security was on a Segway.
Mm.
Their walking path was remarkable. It was for all ages. We saw a couple there on oxygen. There's an observation deck that it's about 4 levels. And when you start going up it, and all these pictures are on the 62040, when you start going up it, you are looking at pretty much just the top of the arch. But each level that you go up, you're looking at art that was built into this observation deck.
Oh, nice.
And you see more and more of the arch. And when you finally get up to that last tier and you're walking towards St. Louis, there it is. The arch, the steps, the actual river. It was amazing.
Nice. I've always kind of, I guess, had mixed feelings about that because I'm not going to lie, my biggest question is, and I don't know how it works, who's paying for that water?
The geyser water?
Yeah, who's paying
for
that?
That I can answer only because we took the time to read some signs and things. It is receding a little bit. So you see the bladder, the black bladder and the rocks are on top. And it just repumps its own water. And it also says that during drought or low tide, or whatever we want to call it, not tide, low water levels, it just doesn't spray. But when it's full, the arch is 634 feet. The geyser is, this is important, the geyser is the largest in the world.
Nice.
Not in the metro, but like in the world.
Nice.
And it's 630 foot. Then it has four
so
little.
what's up there with the arch? Then,
yeah, it's right there. And then there's 4 other fountains that are smaller, and they are dedicated to the 4 rivers: Mississippi, Illinois, Missouri, and the Merrimack.
So why did they build it?
Well, that I don't know. There was a lawyer, and there's a statue of him at the top sitting on a bench named Malcolm something. Very
X.
No,
Jamal Warner in the middle.
Wait a
Oh
minute.
my gosh.
You're close on that one. But there's some very cool art that is built into the situation.
Nice.
And that statue being one. And it's just cool. We ran into an older man that was sitting up there drawing the St. Louis scape with just pastel colors.
Oh, neat.
And he showed us quite a bit of stuff, and it was as neat as it could be. So we probably spent 2.5 hours just looking.
Yeah, I've never been
And
there.
it's, Granite City's got this, oh Lord, please don't kill me, Brenda, where art and industry meets.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. This is the, like, it should just be plastered, because you are literally on art looking at Cargill industry, the big, huge silos, and you can see the conveyor belts, and
Nice.
there's the arch, and then there's this fountain, and take your kids, go. It's the safest I've ever felt going anywhere without a population kind of thing.
Right.
And it's level, but they have built in this amphitheater type thing, maybe 4 levels. And I don't think, not that I think you should go anywhere to watch the 4th of July fireworks other than Granite City. But if you was to go for any other time that there is fireworks in St. Louis,
That's the place to go.
there's not a better spot.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Heck yeah.
Not a better spot.
Now there is
Gateway Geyser.
There is an amphitheater that's over there, like an old amphitheater. That, I mean, you can't really get to it because it's all walled off, whatever. My next door neighbor, actually, we were going to shoot a music video there, but you can't get hold of anybody over there. Like, I called multiple times, and you just can't get hold of anybody who knows what's going on there.
That's when you just do and ask for forgiveness later.
Yeah,
Exactly.
or bail.
Right.
You can ask forgiveness or bail. One of the two.
from these guys.
And on your side, with how you do your photography, keep that place in mind.
Okay.
We ran into a family. The daughter is Japanese. I don't know if her whole family was actually from here, but when we asked if we could help them take selfies, because they were trying to do the whole, thing.
Yeah.
And then we seen them later, and they were doing a photo shoot, and she was from the mother of the group said, my daughter's in university.
Oh.
And just the way she said it, it was almost like, are you guys from really Japan and you're over here because she's in university? It was very cool. Very cool.
That is pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Folks, I want to apologize to you tonight because, again, I have this cough. I'm trying to get my face away from the mic when I cough. So if I do that in your ear, if you're listening like this for whatever reason, I apologize. Or if you're watching us on the big screen and I don't blow your speakers. So, but no, that's awesome. What else did you do this week? Anything fun besides that?
Well, that was a full day. And then we walked the Chain of Rocks Bridge, which on the Missouri side, a lot of things are happening over there.
Yeah.
So I guess we
yeah.
can also say in the metro there too.
Yeah. Are they expanding the interstate there? Is that what's going on? Or what?
No, they're building the Chain of Rocks Park.
Really?
Beautiful pavilions, beautiful metal
On the river there?
tables, right at the end of the bridge.
Right at where the pay entrance used to be back in the day, right?
Right.
Yep.
Really? Interesting.
Beautiful setup they've got there. Big area of prairie grass,
Okay.
bringing natural things
Natural
back.
preserve in there. Yeah.
It's going to be a food truck park, and don't even get me started on the food trucks, but that's kind of a neat place for food trucks to be.
Big Meachies has got to get out there.
Okay.
Andy, I'm telling you, if you're ever in town, Big Michi's, man. Oh, this
Good.
guy's food truck is fantastic. Yeah.
Or the Spud.
The
I
Spud truck
love
is good.
The
Yeah.
Spud truck.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They're good.
that's kind of my go-to.
Awesome.
Oh yeah, look, that's neat. That is absolutely neat.
All right. Can we share that?
I think
on
it's probably
screen?
being shared, right?
No, it's not.
Nope.
It will be in a second.
While he's doing that, you guys, Miss Rebecca's watching, so you can all feel free to wish her a happy birthday.
Oh, happy
Oh,
birthday,
shoot.
Rebecca.
Happy birthday, Rebecca.
Yeah, we got to spend time together this weekend, and we went up to Pere Marquette, which is really nice. And if you're friends with me on Facebook, you'll see a fantastic picture that we took while we were
I saw that.
out there. It's really a super cool place. Like I've shot weddings out there before, and just going up there to the different lookouts that they have, it was really nice, really really cool. We did that. Went and saw One Love, the Bob Marley.
Let's
story.
talk about that.
Yeah.
How was it?
It was really good. So I'd never really listened to a lot of his music before. Rebecca's a big fan of.
I am
Yeah.
too.
I've heard some of his more popular stuff, but listening to the soundtrack was, it was really kind of cool. Like I was, pardon me, I was introduced to a lot of music that I hadn't heard before. So I think it's going to be one of those things where I kind of start listening a little bit here and there and just kind of open my mind up a little bit about that. It was kind of cool because the beginning of the movie, and I'm not giving anything away, was Ziggy Marley, his son, kind of introduced it. And he was talking about how he was on set, while the entire movie was being filmed to make sure it was like an authentic, portrayal of his dad's life and everything. And Brad Pitt was an executive producer on that.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I was like, I'm one of those geeks who watches the credits at the end, and I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. You got that on the. All right, so we're gonna show up here on the screen, and
that is
what are we
very
looking
cool.
at here?
Engineer Bill, tell us what we got going here.
So this is their concept drawing, and from what I understand, they're pretty much following said concept of what is going on at the entrance to the park there.
It sure looks like it.
Yes,
And you can see, most people probably aren't old enough to have actually driven onto this bridge when it was actually in service for vehicle traffic. But as you come in there were two lanes, one that route you in, one that route you out off the bridge.
Okay.
And there was a pay house there. You can't see that, but it's near the entrance to the bridge. But it looks like they've made an entire development there. It's pretty neat.
so
It's
there used to be
very
a
neat.
carnival
Heck
out
yeah.
there.
Yeah, that was
Like-
on the other side of the road.
Was it on the other
Mhm.
side? I was
Yeah.
saying, I knew there used to be like a Chain of Rocks amusement park or something like that. So,
I didn't know that, Bill.
Mhm.
The carnival was actually not at the foot of the bridge. It
No.
was across.
It was across the road. In fact, so my buddy and I used to do a bunch of urban exploring kind of sketchy stuff, but if you go over there in that area, you can still find all the concrete foundations and stuff of where.
So
Oh,
before
very
it flooded
cool.
out there in '93, when they were like, okay, this isn't safe for people to inhabit anymore.
Yeah.
I used to have friends that lived out there on Shoto Island, and it would flood every once in a while. But man, I think it was '93. That flood just,
Yeah.
they were just like, yeah, you people can't live here anymore.
Oh yeah.
So it was kind of crazy because you can still drive around out there a little bit and see some of the abandoned houses. So yeah, kind of cool.
Hold on, I'll have a image of the Chain of Rocks amusement park here in just a
All right,
second.
cool. Well, we're talking about our weekends. I want to welcome Danny to the show. And first of all, let me introduce Danny. Some of you guys saw the announcement earlier. Danny's a former police officer, and he's agreed to come on to the show and talk a little bit about the law enforcement community, and how the interaction between the regular communities and things like that. And but how was your weekend? We don't want to leave you out of this fascinating conversation.
No, I appreciate it, man. I appreciate being on the show. Thank you for having me.
Thank you
My
for coming.
weekend was pretty good. Spent a lot of time with family recently, and I'm soaking it all up. It's
Yeah.
been
We've had a recent addition, haven't we?
yep. I have a
Very
newborn baby girl.
So you're not sleeping.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. She's my 3 o'clock in the morning alarm clock.
There you
Just
go.
every day without fail. But other than that, I'm just soaking up the time, man. It's I haven't had a whole lot of time with them, just given the jobs and even when I was in the Marine Corps and stuff like that.
Yeah.
This time it's good for us to kind of reconnect.
Very awesome. Now you guys are actually transplants, right? You guys moved out here, and you're ex-Marine, or transitioned to Marine.
Yes. Yep. There's no such thing as an ex-Marine. That's
No.
one thing that we're very proud of. But
Yes, I was corrected on that by another friend of mine. I'd called him an ex-Marine
yeah,
one time. He's like, nope. He's He's like, we're transition Marines. I was like, all right.
they'll get you with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was in the Marine Corps for 6 years. I was from the area. I was born in Alton, raised in Brighton. So I've been here my whole life. And then I
Nice.
left in 2016, did that for about 6 years, and then got out in May of 22. Came back to Granite City is actually where I moved back to. Originally, I was staying with my sister. And then we moved back up to Brighton after a little bit of a period,
Yeah.
about 3 months or so.
Yeah. Okay. Very cool. Very cool. So, I've noticed that a lot of LEOs, law enforcement officers, are transition Marines, or they typically have a pretty strong military background.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of seems to fit in. But what did you do when you're in the Marine Corps?
I was a motor transport operator, so
Okay.
just basically a fancy way of saying a truck driver.
Yeah. Nice.
I did that for really the entire time. I deployed overseas on 2 separate occasions. One was with the Navy. We were kind of on their ships with them, and we just were floating around for around 9 months, just going to different countries. And then the second time, we just went over there for a field op in the Middle East. But it wasn't towards like the end of my career that I started to pick up rank. I attained the rank of sergeant.
Nice.
And that's when I really started to get into the leadership aspect of things.
Mhm.
I had at one point in time like 40 people under me, junior Marines that I was mentoring, and some of it was good, some of it was, there's learning to be a leader is a hard thing.
Yeah.
And
Well, you're
some
always
people-
gonna have a jack leg in there, or two,
Yeah.
and So, what was that like? Like, were you one of these? Were you a hardcore mentor, or were you like a little more? I don't want to use the word soft, but were you a little more kind of like, you're a human being, want to treat you like a human being, or was it kind of like, because we've heard that Marine Corps basic training is probably one of the hardest basic trainings that you go through, and a friend of mine used to tell me it's like, Marine Corps. First to go, last to know, or something like that, So you kind of have to be like hardcore as far as like your leadership style in the Marine Corps. How would you describe that?
At first, so with us, our rank structure is a little bit different than the other branches.
Mhm.
We delegate leadership to really low levels. So we have what's called an E3. It's a Lance Corporal. Lance Corporals can be in a position where they're leading people. So the other branches don't really do that as much. They
Mhm.
kind of leave the leadership to once you attain rank. So from a young age, I guess I would say, or a young rank, I was in leadership positions doing convoy briefs and stuff like that.
Okay.
When I picked up corporal, I was we call it bulldog. And a lot of my junior Marines, if they're watching this, they'll attest to that. I was a pretty big douchebag to some of them. It was kind of a rite of passage. I got just completely destroyed when I was a junior Marine. So at first, I kind of passed that pain on to other people.
Right.
And there was actually one incident. It was pretty bad. I made one of my female junior Marines cry. She and I didn't know this at the time, and I feel horrible. And Tessa, if you're watching, I've apologized a bunch. Can't say it enough. But I didn't know this at the time. But she had lost both of her parents while she was in Marine Corps boot camp.
Oh wow.
And after that, I was kind of like, okay. And after that, I took a second and I really evaluated my leadership style.
Yeah.
And then I started to be more laid back. I started to just kind of get to know people a little bit more. And I was the guy that people would go to after they got their butts chewed by the other bulldogs. They would go to me, and I would kind of show them the reason behind why they got the butt chewing they did.
Right.
And,
So you're kind of the voice of reason then.
yeah, towards
nice.
the end. Yeah.
But there is certainly a place for the bulldog
There is
in the Marine
There is.
Corps also.
You have to have it. Some people need it. Some people have thick skulls like myself, and we just don't. We don't get it until you just scream at us,
Yeah.
and then we're like, oh, and it clicks.
Click,
So
yeah. I think everybody has their own learning style. Some people are a little snowflakey, and you have to, use kid gloves on them. And then, like you said, there are other people that you literally need to take a sledgehammer to their head to drive the point home.
and it's changed a lot for us. I mean, I joined in. I mean, it seems like a long time ago, but it wasn't. 2016, and I mean, when I went through boot camp, there was still some pretty, things were happening to people in boot camp.
Yeah.
Now, I kind of noticed towards the end of my career with them, people got a lot softer. The junior Marines coming in, they not necessarily that they were softer, but they kind of knew things. Like they knew who to go to. They would go to the chaplains, and if they were being harassed or
They
things
knew
like
how to
that.
work the system.
Yeah, they knew how to work the system from an early time, and it was kind of weird. Like we were all
It got
sitting back.
soft.
Yeah.
And I was kind of like, I don't know if I like this so much, but
Yeah. Now, how long was your enlistment?
6 years.
6 years. Okay.
Mhm.
Awesome. Well, I mean, most people say this, but definitely thank you for your service. I mean, whether you see action or not, it doesn't matter. When you go into any branches of the military, you're writing a blank check for Uncle Sam to send you wherever he feels like. So on behalf of myself and the show, of course, thank you for your service and that.
Absolutely. Appreciate the support, and thank you for that.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you transition out of the Corps, you got this set of skills that you've learned or whatever. You sought out a career in law enforcement.
I did.
What kind of brought that thought process on, or that drive on?
So I had done a couple different jobs. I took about a 2-month hiatus where I was looking around for work.
Mhm.
I didn't know what I was going to do. No college degree or anything like that. So I was trying to figure out how am I going to put these skills to work. I had my Class A CDL, but the trucking was kind of slow at the time.
Yeah.
I took a job with my brother-in-law Brian as a salesman. So I did that for a little bit with Woods Basement Systems, and I learned a lot there. Sales is a totally different beast, for sure. And had a couple of jobs in between that, and I really felt that the camaraderie is what I was missing. I kind of missed that brotherhood feeling that I had, and a lot of guys do. So I sought that with law enforcement, and to give back to my community also, wherever I was working or whatever community I was going to be working at the time.
Yeah, very cool. Now, your wife, if I understand correctly, is also a transition Marine, correct?
She is.
Okay. Did you guys meet in the Corps, or?
We did. We actually, it's hilarious. We met on the firing range when we were shooting M16s. That's where we met, and then it kind of took off from
love like gunpowder and lead.
there. Oh yeah, yeah.
That's awesome.
And
Yeah.
hearing loss.
And and tinnitus. It's great.
All
But
right.
yeah, we met there, and it kind of just took off from there. Our thing was I was getting out first, so her enlistment ended after mine, but we kind of sat down, and I think we were dating for around 6 months at the time, and she doesn't do long distance. It's never worked. I never had done it, so we were kind of like, well, either I can get out and go back to Illinois and just live my life, and we can part ways here, or let's get married. And we got married. And
Very straightforward.
Yeah,
huh?
just it was right to it.
Nice.
But yeah, and it's been wonderful ever since. And it was kind of one of those, I don't know if they're called like the courthouse wedding type thing.
Mhm.
It wasn't anything crazy. It wasn't anything special. We're eventually, babe, I know you're harassing me, but we're gonna have a wedding ceremony at some point.
Nice. Some people have shotgun weddings. They had an M16 wedding.
Yeah, right.
That makes it more special, though.
That would be cool. That would be cool. So I know that before we kind of get into it, you wanted to kind of give just a quick disclaimer, kind of about what we're going to talk about in that. So I would welcome you to do that if that's something you still want to do. If not, we just kind of start talking a little bit about your experience as an officer, and just kind of like the interaction within the community and things like that today, versus like when you were a kid, or in like different cities that maybe you've heard about, read about, or heard stories about from veteran officers.
Okay. Yeah. The disclaimer really would just be that on behalf of former law enforcement agencies I worked for, or the Marine Corps, I don't speak for them. My opinions are mine and mine alone, and I own them. So, but as far as the
no lawsuits.
Yeah, no cancel culture. Please
There
don't
we
come
go.
after me.
Oh, they can't cancel us. We pay our own bills here,
Oh, hey, there we go.
Yeah.
That's awesome. No, but the experience, I mean, so I was on the streets for about 6 months. I am from Brighton, Illinois, very small, 2,000 people. I mean, and it's a completely different beast where I was working at the time. Around 50,000 people the city was, and I mean it kind of showed in the way that I handle things. I was much more trusting than somebody that's grown up in a big city. Small town folk, we tend to have that, like we can leave our doors unlocked and nobody's going to do anything.
Yeah.
Now it's kind of it's changing a little bit. Even in the small towns, there's just the world we're living in. It's a different world, and people are acting a lot differently than what they used to.
So as far as interaction within the community goes, I mean, I agree with you. I think that there are a lot of things that are changing these days because you just can't, leave your doors unlocked. Even, when I was growing up, it was kind of one of those things, if you forgot to lock your door, not a big deal. Even with where I live at now, I've got double locks on my door. I lock my screen door and, I lock my regular door. And it's not that I live in a bad neighborhood or whatever, but we get a lot of imported traffic from the other side of the river that likes to come over here and literally hit and run. Like they'll hit a house, they'll shoot back across a bridge or whatever and take their wares home. And I don't think Granite City's alone in that. I really do think that creeps into Edwardsville and Collinsville and even Madison and Venice a little bit, So what do they, when you're doing a traffic stop, I mean, it's got to be rough knowing that when you pull someone over, typically it's going to be a routine stop, right?
Mm-hmm.
Someone's speeding, expired tags, something just doesn't look right or whatever. What are the thoughts that you have, when you're approaching a vehicle that you stopped? What are some things that the Academy has taught you to be aware of, for both your safety and for, citizen safety, and things like that?
So the Academy, they've kind of ran this home hard. There's no such thing as a routine traffic stop. That's their big thing. You got to treat every single one differently because you're dealing with a new person. You don't know what's going on in their life, and the FBI has actually put out statistics on this, that a lot of the times people that kill police officers, it's the first time that they've ever interacted with a police officer. So their world is collapsing around them. They think, like I'm pulling them over. I know that I'm just looking at their registration, maybe give them a ticket, but most likely verbal warning, written warning. But to them, the world could be ending. I'm going to jail. Right. And then that's where a lot of cops, unfortunately, lose their lives. The thing that we think about, the biggest thing is officer safety, because at the end of the day, if we're being safe, then that person is going to get home safe. I'm going to get home safe. And that's really the biggest thing. The tactics that we use going into it it's pretty intense, because we're constant. Yeah. I mean, we have a lot to think about. You're on the side of the road, cars could swerve in and hit you. You got to think about that. You got to think about the person in the car. You got to think about your distancing. And there's a lot of factors that go into it. But the biggest thing I would say would be the officer safety.
Now, what about behaviors? Do they train you or teach you to observe any particular type of behaviors as you're approaching, things along those lines?
A lot of it, I would say you pick it up as you do the job. The Academy will show you the basic stuff. They'll, obviously if you're pulling up behind them and you're doing a traffic stop on them and they're all of a sudden, moving around in the car a lot, they're reaching for stuff, or they're, they could potentially be putting stuff away somewhere they don't want you to see. So movements in the car, you're looking at that. A lot of the behaviors, I would say, is when you're sitting there looking for somebody to stop, kind of you're observing how they react to you. A lot of people, if they have something to hide, they're gonna show it. They're gonna look at you, they're gonna look at your car, they're gonna have certain behaviors about them that, okay, they're kind of nervous. There might be a reason for that. Whereas, if you don't have anything to hide, a lot of times they just don't even pay attention to us.
So we had a friend of ours on here not too long ago. Brian is his name. We had him on here. We talked a little bit about the education that a Black family gives their children, opposed to an education that a white family. And look, folks, it's just black and white. Okay, I mean, if you don't like it, I'm sorry, but there's so many different names to call everybody right now. I'm just going to look. Even the African American community or Black community will refer to themselves as Black, but there's definitely an education difference between the two. Just to kind of put something to bed, so to speak, and maybe I'm wrong here, but I mean, when you guys are in the Academy, are you taught the different communities? Like, are you taught the way that the Black community may respond to you as opposed to the way the white community may respond to you? Do you approach subjects any differently regardless of their race or anything like that?
So we're taught that there is that cultural difference, right? The cultural differences exist. People teach their children certain things in different types of ways, and that can not only be, you know, maybe the Black community, for example, but you know, the Hispanic community or people that immigrate to America from different third world countries. They have a completely different view of police, you know, and they might be, I can speak for some of the countries because I've been to them, like Sri Lanka and some of these other countries. When cops pull up behind you, it's a whole different thing because there's, I'm not gonna say it's the Wild West, but I mean, the police,
you can't read minds, you know, so you don't know what's going through, you know, a subject's head or a citizen's head, or, you know, so I mean, I guess that's where the education comes into play for you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so a lot of places in the world, they don't have our Constitution, which guarantees people their rights. Here, you know, for example, you know, Fourth Amendment, I can't just pull you out of your car and search your car. Like, I can't do that. That's violating your Fourth Amendment right to be secure in your person's house's papers and effects. So with that, you know, I would have to ask your permission, or if I had probable cause or reasonable suspicion to believe that you had something in there, then maybe it'd be a different story. But in other countries, you know, there's not that. In other countries, they just pull you out, they're ripping your stuff out, and, you know, they can pretty much do whatever they want. And so with those communities, they might be a little bit more apprehensive of police because they think that we can do the same thing when that's not the case.
Gotcha. Yeah. Kim, you were going to ask Danny.
Yeah, you know, when you're talking about like the Fourth Amendment, you know, our forefathers, the Constitution, you know, they took all that as best they could, you know, in context of how things are going to be. But the world's forever changing, and I think we may have out-policed ourselves legislatively. I am not a fan of the Safety Act. There's not a whole lot in there. I couldn't be more blue if I was an actual Smurf. Okay.
Like in our past podcast.
Exactly. Right. Feel the same way about my firefighters. It's just a different kind of feeling with them. They're just as much at risk at times, probably more so at times, but I am a Leo supporter through and through. And the Safety Act bill that passed.
Can you kind of go into that a little bit? Because I'm not super familiar with what this entails.
I could, and I will touch on it, but let me start by saying that bill is over 800 pages, and it was passed around 1:30 in the morning,
and no one read the damn thing.
And to this day, they probably still haven't. Right? Okay, so and I don't care about the cancel culture, so just putting it in my own terms, it was designed, I guess, let's say, you know, someone that of a poorer means can't really afford bail, as opposed to someone that is more upper class doing the same kind of crime that they're going to go bail out. Bullshit. Straight up bullshit. I don't care if you are dick poor or you are living a lavish lifestyle. I don't care.
Care if
the
you're
law
what?
is the same. You know I'm about to get up on it, right? No, I don't care. If your tail light is out and you get pulled over, fix the damn tail light. 90% or more of the time you're going to tell, are you not going to tell someone, hey, did you know your tail light was out?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Get it right. Go fix it.
But you guys like note that in your system though too, don't you? Like if you pull somebody over and you've given them like a warning for a taillight, I can't get pulled over like 2 days later and get another warning for a taillight, right? Or is that not a practice?
Well, it shows that they've been pulled over by which municipality. Sorry to speak for you, but I know that's how that works.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And
I may have been
everything's
pulled over for something similar.
Yeah. Everything's and everything now is computerized. It's, you know, it's all in our computer systems, our CAD systems. I mean, it's the way that it's transitioned in that electronically is amazing. But yeah, I mean, can they get pulled over for the same thing? Yeah, but it shows on our side that we pulled you over for that. Another officer in another jurisdiction might have their discretion.
Right.
One of the good things that we still have as police officers, even though it is, you know, it's becoming less and less each day, is our discretion. We still have discretion in some things. My approach a lot of the times was I would get to the car, their attitude's going to kind of dictate some things.
To set the tone for
Absolutely.
the
It's going to set the tone. If
The
you know, if you're
interaction,
being a douchebag to me, it might change my opinion on how I'm going to handle this versus
from warning to ticket and 0 to 60. You know.
yeah, because a lot of times I'm of the mindset, and I don't know, I'm not going to speak for any other police officers, but I'm of the mindset that, you know, if it's something minor, I mean, I'm probably just going to give you a warning, and it's most likely going to be a verbal warning, you know, just hey, get this fixed. You know, if it's not something egregious, I mean, if it's something egregious that, you know, warrants a ticket, then by all means.
Yeah.
But a lot of guys, that discretion can kind of, you know, it just depends on them. It depends on that officer. Some people just love handing out tickets for everything, and that's their pie. I'm not gonna, you know, get into it.
I straight up would be.
You would hand out tickets all the time?
Oh my God, I'd have carpal tunnel. Straight up, absolutely.
People would hate you.
Yeah, okay. What's changed?
Everybody knows. I mean, there's usually like that one police officer in every community that you're like, oh no, not this one.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Because it doesn't matter how
Yeah,
nice
yeah.
you are. They're like, okay. I mean, they
Right.
may be nice too, but like still, you know, you're getting a ticket. Like,
Yeah. I forget his name, but when I was in high school, there was a guy that we used to refer to as Officer Friendly.
officer friendly.
Yeah,
There
like
you
I
go.
forget what his actual name was, but everybody knew that if Officer Friendly lit up those berries behind you, that you were getting a ticket.
Yeah.
It didn't matter what it was. Like you
As
were
a
getting
police
ticket.
officer, do you feel like that all your tools are being taken from you? For example, besides the Safety Act, because I think that was a slippery slope.
Mhm.
Because right now we are discussing amending the vehicle code.
I've seen that.
Okay. Are you familiar with that?
So
Just
I-
kind
I
of wrap
know
it up
that
real
you-
quick.
From what I
It-
understand, you can't pull anyone over for expired tags anymore.
It's about
Is that- is
tinted
that what that
windows.
is?
Right, tinted windows, something from the rearview mirror. Bullshit again. No, those are things that police officers use as a tool. If I saw someone, and you're right, you can't just do the Wild West, the third country, and pull somebody over just because because you've got to actually have cause.
Mhm.
But the tools that they're trying to tighten up in this vehicle code amendment are the reasons you would have to look at something a little further. For example,
I
taking
think
it
in
out.
that situation, I think it's people who are in constant violation of those particular ordinances, laws, or whatever, are people that are more prone to be more apt to have something worth looking
Well,
into.
that's what I was getting ready to say.
Then
I mean, how many
that
times?
they need to be pulled over.
Right. How many times have those type of traffic stops or interactions led to discovering things that are serious?
Right.
You know,
Here-
you've got
right.
jet black tinted windows, and we find out you got a bunch of narcotics in the car that with intent to distribute. You know, obviously.
Yeah.
Or I could do you one better. And I've had this happen to me, where we know people have warrants and they're in a car, and now if I don't have those tools, it makes it incredibly hard for me to pull them over and get them arrested for their warrant. I
Yeah.
mean, I've had that happen where, you know, this guy is leaving his residence. We know he has a warrant. He gets in his car and takes off. Well, okay, you know, if his registration's bad, then there we go right there. And I can pull
You
him
have a
over, and
reason.
then yeah.
Didn't turn on his blinker.
Stuff like that. I mean, one of the things that I thought was crazy with that, the expired registration is a big thing because that's just easy. I mean, especially for new cops, if I can see your sticker and it's, you know, it's a certain color, all right, cool.
Yeah.
It's easy for me, you know, because when you're new, you're still learning all those things, and it takes a long time. And I still am by no means an expert in any of it, but like the general speed violations, getting rid of that to where I can't, you know, you can't pull somebody over for general speed violations.
So what does
So-
that even mean?
It's
So at this point, I'm now thinking red lights are a suggestion.
Well,
Well,
I mean,
and registration is a suggestion. Like, if it doesn't matter whether I have a ticket or a license plate sticker from 2022,
Right.
then
Why am I going to
Why
spend
am I-
$151?
exactly, you know, because I'm really bad at that. I'll buy it and it'll sit in my car for like a year, and I'll be like, oh, it's
You know,
expired.
there's even and definitely correct me if I'm wrong, but there's even a deeper thing to this. For example, just using jaywalking. In your time as a police officer, did you ever write a jaywalking ticket?
does
but we
anyone ever
know-
writ a jaywalking
But
ticket
listen, let me
anymore?
tell you, listen. Jaywalking is against the law.
Mhm.
It is.
It absolutely is.
No.
It's a tool. Now, are policemen going to be sitting on the corners waiting to catch someone to do that? No. But it gives you an opportunity as a police officer in your community to stop that person. You find out
Yeah.
who they are, where they live at, do they have a warrant, what might be on the person. When you start taking away these simple 101 laws, you're taking away so much more. It's not just, oh, what's jaywalking? No, it's the quality of
Mhm.
life for your law-abiding citizens.
Yep.
It
And
just is.
it takes away the proactivity too of good officers that, you know, they want to be proactive. They want to go out there and find the bad guys, you know,
Yeah.
and it takes that away. And I mean, because we saw the vehicle code thing before, you know, before I left, we saw the vehicle code thing. And a lot of the seasoned guys, or their first thing was, well, I'm just going to sit in my car and go to calls. I'm not looking for people. If you're going to take
Yeah.
everything away from me, why would I?
Absolutely.
And that's going to just breed. It's not going to breed a good police officer. It's not going to breed a good culture. And that's what that does, unfortunately. And we've seen that with the defund the police. I mean,
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
it's a crazy time now. I've heard, and I haven't experienced this, but like I've heard from cops that have been cops for 10, 15 years. It used to be you would have huge lists of people applying,
Mhm.
and then you'd have to filter through all of them, and, you know, you'd pick the most qualified candidate. Now it's like people are begging people to
Yeah.
come to the tests. Like,
I
come
know-
to my test, come be a
Absolutely.
cop.
Absolutely,
And
that
it's
is
crazy.
true.
Yeah, I up until recently, I've not seen a bunch of Facebook posts and, hey, wanted ads, come join us. But now it's like all the time, anytime they have a position, they're like, bro,
Yes.
come apply.
You know, and that's why that lateral hire became such a popular thing. We all, you know, we had to do something. It
Mhm.
gave us
Lateral
gave
hire.
departments an opportunity to pull from someplace else.
Mm.
Residency. I was probably one of the hardest politicians and citizens about this. I wanted my policemen, my firemen, my teachers, I wanted you to work and live in the community. I liked that. I was raised by a policeman. I liked seeing his car at home.
Mhm.
I liked running into my principal at the grocery store. So I never was for that until all of these cases that have come about, and people just don't want to be policemen anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
So then, okay, well, will you still be a policeman if we let you move an hour away? Can you still stay?
Yeah.
You know, so we're giving away. It's not just what the police are losing in their tools to be a policeman. It's what your citizens are losing
Right.
a quality of life and
Mhm.
in their community.
Mhm.
It's just happening. You see it all the time, and it's going away faster than you know it. And you're right. Now we're at a point where we have done the lateral hires. You bring your rank, bring your pay, come with us. We can do this, we can do that. To at this point, we're going to have recruiters sitting in high schools. They're not just going to be SRO officers. They're picking out.
Hey, listen, as soon as you turn this, come on,
Yeah,
come on down.
Exactly. And
Some
And
places have it too.
and it's still a no. And then you throw in this minimum wage, and yeah, come at me, I don't care. When you throw in this minimum wage and all these other things that are building up a citizen's new expectation,
Mhm.
how are you going to ask a 22-year-old officer on up to, hey, strap this gun on, don't you dare use it because you got a camera,
Right.
Mhm.
and you're going to work for pretty much the same amount of money as him bagging groceries over here?
I wouldn't.
Yeah.
It's
No way.
not
No
going to
way.
happen.
I wouldn't. I
For-
wouldn't ask that.
It's all flawed. It's all
Yeah.
flawed. And I won't ask you why you left the police department, or I won't even ask if you plan on being a policeman again. But I am going to ask you, are the things that I have laid out accurate?
For the most part, yeah. I mean, there's been a shift, and older officers will attest to this. They see it in academy cadets when they're training. The hesitancy that there is to use deadly force is a
Mhm.
big thing. You know, there's a hesitancy there that is going to get people hurt, and it's something that I've fought against, because just the climate of, you know, when you see cops get persecuted for situations where they're using deadly force in a justified way, but they're in a county that's leans a certain way, and the DA wants to make a name for himself by prosecuting cops, and it kind of creates this environment where it's like, well, man, I don't want to use this thing because
it could ruin your life. Like saving your life could literally end
I could be looking at prison
life.
time. If it's just and granted, like, you don't need to be using deadly force for every situation by any means.
Right.
De-escalation is a huge thing. You need to be able to de-escalate a situation. That thing should be the last thing you should do is pull that, because once you pull it out, at that point, you've raised it to a level where now what's going to happen? Either you're going to use it or they're going to change their attitude, and they might not change their attitude, and it might lead to something terrible.
So I was watching a video one time. It was when the whole Darren, what's his last name? The Ferguson guy.
Wilson.
Darren Wilson. That's what I thought. So when the whole Darren Wilson thing came about, and
The true victim of the story. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, and let's not get into that whole thing right now. I mean, that could be 3 or 4 shows combined.
They'll be printing T-shirts
when
again.
I say cut me open, I believe you. I'm serious.
My point is, the story was that the decedent was, I call him a decedent because he's dead now, but the decedent attacker, however you want to refer to him,
Thug,
Michael Brown, I'll say his name, was charging Darren Wilson, and that's when he shot him. And they were like, well, if he was unarmed, which that's another story also, unarmed or not, they were like, why did he have to use his gun? And I was watching videos around that time where even a person with a knife, 21 feet or something like that, or if they're within 21 feet, they can still,
of 21 feet in less than 3 seconds.
He was at his police vehicle, and there was a struggle. And I don't care. I don't care if you have a taser or a gun or whatever. If I'm a big dude and I get on you, you're going to have a problem trying to get that. And especially if I'm trying to get on you to retrieve your firearm with the intent to use it on you, absolutely, I deserve a bullet.
The whole point of the statement was, and I saw this video that actually exemplified the fact that, you may not think that deadly force is necessary, but I mean, you could think, looking at someone, you could think it'd be a safe distance that you wouldn't have to, engage your firearm or discharge your firearm. And the fact is that distance is a lot larger than what you think it is,
right. And it had just a blink of an eye.
Yeah, and it can. I mean, it takes time. Well, you and I went shooting a while back, and the guy that we were with actually gave us drills about, he ran you hard, man, about pulling your firearm.
My uncle.
And pulling your firearm and then discharging it. I mean, that takes time. And during that time, like, I think it was like a second and a half or whatever, I think was the difference between like what we were shooting, what you were shooting, because and your gun was unlocked, like when you were doing it, but just, having to engage and make that decision. I mean, that's a quick snap decision that you have to make. And, being an officer of the law, man, I couldn't imagine doing it. Like, there was a time I gave a very brief thought about it. And then, it's to a point now, I'm like, I am so glad that I didn't take that, do that. And it's not that I'm a wuss or anything like that. It's like, that's really, we've got a war zone going on here in our own country, against criminals versus law enforcement,
right.
And I don't give a shit. It doesn't matter if you're black, white, purple, pink, tan, or otherwise, it's just criminals are never going to respect those in authority, because
and it's still so raw in Granite City. The subject, we just had a police officer shot.
I'd heard about that. Yeah.
That so close to hearts and home.
Well, Officer Timmons, 5 years ago?
Yep.
And
Pontoon
that,
Beach,
and that's still raw. You almost can't have a conversation with the Pontoon Beach mayor or any of the other police officers that their voice don't crack 5 years later. I'm still pissed over this shooting here in Granite. And I think the guy got everything he asked for. And a farmer field.
Yeah, well, F around and find out, right?
And he found out.
That's a Gen X logo, man.
Yeah, it deserves to be on shirts everywhere. I think body cams are a great tool that didn't exist back in the Michael Brown days. Dash cams, body cams.
That was a big catalyst for the body cams.
Yeah, and not to, look at what the police officer did, but to protect the police officer.
Yeah,
because
100%.
I mean, I'll watch them on YouTube from time to time, and you can see like there was a de-escalation factor there, and whoever the other person was not de-escalating, or they were just scared that they were going to go back to prison or whatever that situation is, and they make bad choices. But what kills me about the whole Ferguson Michael Brown incident was the media's response to it. He was such a great, loving boy, but he just knocked off a freaking convenience store. He's such a great, good kid, and you're going to defend him, but you can't believe that he attacked a police officer after he just got done strong-arming some convenience store person.
Yeah, well, I mean,
let's get real.
That's what our media does, though. I mean, they grab onto what's going to churn out the biggest story. Mm-hmm. And the problem with Ferguson was, I think it got even out of their control. Like the media was like, okay, we're gonna fan the flames on this for a little bit. And what happened was they literally created a monster. Other people got involved in it to the point that I think Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton were in town. And,
of course, anytime you got a chance to boost your name. Just kind of
crazy stuff. But, talking about all this, I mean, being an officer can be a pretty scary situation. When you would wake up in the morning and, you kissed your wife and babies, goodbye, or did the thought ever enter your mind that I might not be home tonight?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, constantly. I would just suggest to anybody in the audience, if you like police, if you hate police, whatever your mentality is about it, there's an app you can download called the Officer Down Memorial Page. It shows officers throughout the country that have lost their lives, how they've lost them. And, it's a sobering thing to look at that every day. I mean, I have it, and, I get notifications once a day, twice a day. And it's, officer killed here, officer killed here. And it's not always a shooting. It could be medical related or auto crash related, but you see it and it's like, wow, it kind of puts it into perspective. Yeah. I knew that the Granite City shooting had happened. And
just so let's be clear, it's not just white officers that are dying, or not just black officers that are dying. It's like officers of every color, that have this. So I don't necessarily, and I'm not educated enough on the subject to speak intelligently about this. However, I will assume that if you were to look at, and I'm sure you can go to FBI.gov and get statistics or whatever, statistics. No, I'm sure you could, get the information to see just kind of what race, gender, identification, things like that they were. And I've always been a big believer of when someone dies in a violent crime, whether it's, an officer that's died, or whether it's a civilian that's died, a criminal that's died, or something like that. It's like you see all these statistics and things like that. I wish they would stop talking about statistics and start talking about people. Because when you put a statistic on something or whatever, it that's what it is. It's a statistic. 9 times out of 10, it's a skewed statistic to meet someone's agenda. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what the mainstream media did since the Michael Brown incident, the whole George Floyd incident, and, things like that. I really think, they hung that kid in, was it Michigan out to dry? Kyle, whatever his name was.
Rittenhouse.
Kyle Rittenhouse. I mean, they hung him out to dry because he was white, and I really think that a lot of time we need to stop looking at a statistic, and we need to start looking at people. How many people died? How many black people died? 200 black people died. That sucks. 200 times that sucks that someone had to die. Now, I do agree. You play stupid games, you get stupid prizes. 100% white, black, purple, pink. Again, doesn't matter. But I really think when you start looking at the aspect of a person died, that's really where you need to start looking at it. Again, officer, firefighter, criminal, civilian, it doesn't matter, and if you had some encouraging words, I know we've been talking kind of gloom and doom the last 20 minutes or whatever,
it's the nature of the beast with law enforcement.
It kind of is, tell you what, we'll do it this way. Give me 3 things that you loved, absolutely loved, about getting up in the morning, getting all your gear on, and heading out to patrol your area. Give me 3 things that you absolutely love.
Shoot, put me on the spot. Just, I guess the biggest thing, is that you can actually make a difference. You know, like you can.
Mhm.
There's ways you can do it. We had an incident happen where it wasn't an incident. We were just sitting in Target parking lot, and there was I'll never forget it. There was this time, like there was this little kid. I'd say probably like 5 years old, and he somehow managed to get on top of the SUV that his mom and him came to the store in, and he's just running around on the top of the hood, on the top of the SUV, and his mom's like trying to get him down. And we just get out of the car and we go and we eventually like wrestle him down from the top of this SUV and like, come on, kid, and get him back to his mom. And
kick
she's
his feet apart, throw him down, make him eat some concrete.
yeah, maybe not that crazy, but it was like a good wholesome moment. And I was like, that's why, like stuff like that. I went to a couple of like apartment fires where we were able to go in, and some people, I don't recommend going into a burning apartment or anything like that. It's not good, but we were able to get somebody out before the firefighter showed up, and that was cool. It's like, oh, okay, like those kind of moments happen.
Cape, bro.
Yeah. But
fire retardant cape.
Those kind of moments happen. Being able to make a difference in the community is a huge thing.
Yeah.
Kind of on the second thing, I would say, probably, I wouldn't say it's, we'll say the second thing, serving. Like I'm a big, it's cliche, and I don't like saying it. I don't like using it. The sheepdog thing, because some dudes make it their whole personality where they're a sheepdog and it just gets cringy. But in a sense, like I'm very much wired that way. I like to serve. I loved it in the Marine Corps. I love it being a law enforcement officer. It's just how I am. I mean, I could go work a job where I'm just, and I did this. I was working a job where it was literally just a paycheck. It was just a 9 to 5. I was driving a truck, and I was like, this just sucks. Like it's not fulfilling.
Right.
And law enforcement is a very fulfilling career. It can definitely take you down as far as, mentally, your health, physically. But if you upkeep yourself, it's a very rewarding career. And then I'd say the third thing would probably just be, getting to be, my daughter's names are Amelia and Allison, getting to be their superhero.
Yeah. Nice.
Dad's coming home in the uniform, and, they're a little bit too young to understand that now. But I mean, that's also a really cool thing.
So you're a Christian man. I know that you've, professed your faith and everything. How much would you say that your faith has played into your role as, desiring to be an officer, desiring to serve your community? And how much would you say your faith has played into just performing your day-to-day duties?
I'd say it's played a huge part. I mean, definitely, trying to like protect and serve the community. You're trying to protect and serve God's people. I felt like it gave me a different perspective. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I know how many people on the police department were professing Christians.
Sure.
But I feel like it gave me a different perspective, because a lot of times in law enforcement, you can get jaded. Doing the job, 10, 15, 20 years or whatever, you see the worst of people every day. Nobody's ever calling us because something good happened.
Right.
They're calling us because something bad happened. And you see that enough, and eventually you just become kind of jaded towards people, And for me, I always have that. I have that Christian side of me where I can look at somebody that, they might be a turd, they might have done something wrong, but that's still somebody that can come back, because Jesus Christ offers that forgiveness.
Yeah. Amen.
And it's not something that I don't look at anybody less just because they made some mistakes. I've had family members that, have made mistakes in their life and have served time, and I happen to be on the other side of it, but we still have a great relationship and we still talk. I mean, we're all people, and nobody's better than anybody. I don't care if you have a little bit of authority. It's because God gave you that authority to use it in a just way.
Right.
That's what I believe.
Man, that's a great answer. I love that answer. And that thought process is actually kind of what flipped my mind onto capital punishment. I used to be a big, pro capital punishment. I was one of these guys, I'm, pro-life. But then I was like, well, I'm pro-life. I want to hold life up as high as possible, but I'm all for you killing the bad guys, And then, when I think about, the thief on the cross, it was kind of one of those things that it was never too late. you know. So now there will be people that will argue the point with me, you know, yep, they got till they flip the switch to, you know, changing life around, whatever. But I just kind of think, I was like, if I'm going to be pro-life, I need to be 100% pro-life and not picky and choosy about it or whatever. And I think that's kind of why, you know, I'm more along the lines of identifying myself as more of a libertarian than, you know, a Republican or whatever. But, you know, I mean, just that kind of thought process is it really changes your mentality about how you deal with people also, you know, because you're right. None of us are beyond forgiveness. None of us, you know, everyone here, I know that there are 4 people sitting in this room right now, and all 4 of us have screwed things up pretty bad, you know, at some point or another, you know, and then there are other people out there that have done worse, and some that have done not as bad as some of us, you know, except Kim. I mean, we know that Kim is, you know, the perfect angel, you know, but I mean, just having a faith like we have, I think does play an important part in the way you interact and engage with the community. So, I mean, the way you answered that, I love that answer.
I appreciate it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I gotta believe it. You know, I mean, it's one of those things that if I didn't have that faith and I didn't have that Christian worldview on things, it'd be very easy for me to just slip in like everybody else and to just get to the point where you look at people as less than, you know, you look at the homeless person that's a paranoid schizophrenic and you just treat them like dirt because you think they're less than you.
Yeah.
And I look at that person and yeah, they have problems, but I mean, they're still a creation of God.
Right.
You know, that's God's image right there. You know, and how are we going to treat them? That says something about us fundamentally. But yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. So little Johnny, you know, sitting by his mother's knee, listening to our show right now, you know, he wants to be a cop when he gets older. You know, what would you like to encourage someone to enter into this profession? Like, how would you encourage them to do that?
I would encourage them in the way that, you know, they have to search deep on what fulfills them in life. Where do they find purpose? You know, if serving the community is something that they want to do, it's something that has to come from like a really deep and pure place. You know, if you get into the job for the money, I mean, nobody gets into the job for the money because it's not that great depending on where you're at.
Teaching and first responders, they just, you know.
Yeah. I mean, I would just say that like, for them, like if they want to serve their community in a way that they can be impactful, that they can change someone else's life, because they're going to be in that position where as a police officer, like every interaction you have the ability to change somebody's life, or at least change their mentality about police. You know, you might have somebody that, and we've had it where, you know, they didn't like police, and the interaction that we had, me and this person, you know, they're like, yeah, you know what? You're not that bad, man. And it's like getting them to see kind of the same thing. Like, we're just people, you know, we have a job to do, and we're just doing that job.
I think you hit the nail on the head there when you're talking about make a difference and change someone's perception, you know, because when I was growing up, of course, you know, I mean, I was taught, look, you get pulled over, you better do what you're asked to do or you're going to get shot. You know, I mean, that's kind of, or you're going to go to jail at the very least. You know, if you're a jackass to the officer, you're probably going to go to jail and get a ticket you can't afford. So when you get pulled over, give him your driver's license, give him your insurance and things like that. You know, but with the, pardon me, with the stigma that's out there a lot of times with police officers, I think it's very important that the unfortunately the responsibility does kind of fall on you guys to change the perception of law enforcement. Now, don't get me wrong. I am a Leo supporter, 100%. Okay. There are bad cops out there, you know, just like there are bad people out there, you know, and I think that, you know, you guys are more under the watchful eye of everybody, you know, and, you know, when you have that opportunity to make a difference, a change in perception or something like that, a lot of times that will go, you know, out into the community. You know, Jenna DeYoung's been on the show here. You know, she's been on twice. She's our city clerk here in town. She was the first female officer here in Granite, right? And this was, you know, it's going back a little ways, whatever. But because of who she was and like her involvement in the community, I never got pulled over by Jenna. I never had any interactions with her until she went to City Hall, but I knew who Jenna was, because of just the way that she handled herself and things like that. Like I knew that she was not, one of the bad ones, Officer Friendly, who I mentioned about earlier. He wasn't necessarily a bad officer, but he meant business when you got pulled over. The other officers on the police force, I couldn't tell you many of them. Daryl May was one. I went to church with Daryl when I was younger. I have a friend, John Redstone's retired now. But but when people make a difference, guys, I'm really not getting choked up here. I'm just literally choking. But I think it's important, and I like what you said there about it's the ability to make a difference, and having that be part of your heart, who you are, and that maybe the job is for you then, if that's what's if that's kind of where you led.
Yeah, absolutely.
And us as citizens have our own part, and especially young parents. They can start that whole narrative in the very, very beginning of how to respect a police officer.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, I don't care who you are, when you need one, there's nothing more relieving than seeing that squad car coming down the street and they're coming to stop whatever bad thing is about to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, you're not calling Skippy the grocery bagger down there, to stop things. And
in the Black culture, and we've talked about it openly on several occasions about how they have that talk, that has to change. That whole narrative has to change, and it can't be blamed on culture anymore. It's got to be human beings. There's just as many Black officers as there are white and any other color. It's no longer an excuse. Back to the Safety Act for me. Being poor is not an excuse to break the law. If you can't afford the insurance on your car and the law says you have to have insurance to be on the street, you park the car. Now, we could afford to go buy insurance, do this, do that. Maybe there's a young mom out there that's doing everything right, but she can't. Right now, it's just paycheck to paycheck. I'm sorry, young mom. Park the car.
Or be prepared to take the risk. I mean, listen, if you want to drive an uninsured vehicle, you just got to be ready to pay for the consequences. Like, you can go take that risk all day long, Same thing with any other thing. You want to carry around a pound of weed in your car? Go ahead. That's your choice. You're taking a risk every time you do it. But you have to understand, when you get pulled over, it's not the police officer's fault that you got caught. It's your fault that you were doing it in the first place.
And as far as bad cops, there is bad everything. There's bad nurses. We see them on Lifetime movies. I mean, that shit comes from somewhere, right?
Yeah.
There's just bad in every profession. Ratchet. Exactly. School teachers. I mean, come on. There's room 270. Hello. There's a lot of you're welcome.
Yeah,
a lot of crazy. But I want to subscribe to the fact that I think there's more good than there is bad.
The bad is always blown up. That's why you don't see nothing but heartfelt stuff on the news all the time.
It's not called the good news. It's called the news. And we're not hearing about the good stuff all the time. No. There's some stations that will say, oh, yeah, Officer Danny rescued a cat today,
And what I don't
on to other news, there was a 60-car pileup on the blah, 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 and 40 people died.
And what I don't ever want a community to lose, even the country, but a community. I don't want the communities, small or large, whether it's Brighton at 2,000 or Belleville at 50,000 or Granite City at 27,000. When something happens with our Leos, our first responders in general, there is this unity that happens. You can feel it. You can see it. The blue lights come on people's front porches. The flags come out. There's just something that says nothing else screams American. This is the one thing. Yeah, they're here to arrest us. They're here for all the things that we do wrong, but they're the saviors at the same time. I don't ever want to lose that unity that we feel when one of our own responders need us.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, absolutely. We call it the blue wave. A lot of times, when when there's a critical incident, and if there was like a shooting, for example,
You
the blue wave's coming. I mean, you'll have cops from every town, every neighboring place, state. They're going to come out and
it comes
I've
on
never had
social media
anybody. I've
also,
never
you know.
heard anybody call it a blue wave. So when something like that's going on from the perspective of the officer, do you notice us that put out the blue porch light?
Oh yeah,
and
yeah. It is very easy to tell, like for us, who supports us and who doesn't. I mean,
wow, I've never asked that or had the opportunity.
No, yeah, it's very easy to tell because I mean, most, and I'll say most, if not all, cops are trained observers. So I mean, they're observing everything. They're looking at everything all the time, and we notice and we can feel it when we're in an area that supports us versus an area that might not so much.
I am so glad that got brought up because I often wonder, you'll even see memes and things, you may not hear us, but we're here kind of thing. So I'm glad to know that you guys do feel it when it comes that way. The blue wave, I've never heard that before.
Oh yeah. Yep. It's a real thing.
Wow.
Yeah. But Danny, I definitely appreciate you, coming out and talking to us tonight. And, I hope that, you guys tonight found some of this, information, educational. It's kind of, one of the reasons we have guests such as yourself on the show, so we can just kind of educate the community a little bit better. And, so when they hear something on the news or see something on Facebook, which, I mean, we all know that Facebook is 100% reliable, on their information.
It's all true, right? I thought it was all true.
It's as accurate as any of the newspapers have ever been.
The internet
Mark,
never
I
lies.
got you, Mark.
So, but yeah, definitely appreciate. You had a couple comments here. Rebecca says, "Thank you for being here tonight, Danny," and we definitely echo that comment.
Appreciate
she says
that.
she doesn't know how you do it, and someone you might know, Caitlin Meredith. She.
Oh yeah.
She's like, "That's my hubby. You go, babe." I think she loves you. That's what she says. Anyway.
I hope so. I mean, I don't know. Some days it's hard to tell.
And then your sister's on here, Jenny. She says, "Hey, that's my brother. Great man, right there." I think I got to agree with her. He's a pretty good dude. I've known him for a little bit now, and so.
And hopefully, just getting. I'm not nowhere near perfect, but hopefully getting better every day. That's the goal.
Well, that's all we can do as human beings. Is just strive to be better than we were the day before, and it's okay if we fall every once in a while.
Well, hey, I mean, you can't get worse. Everybody's going to love you now. You can't pull us over for anything.
That's true.
That's true. That's true. Oh, I find it funny that, and I was going to make a joke about this, but like if you get that blue porch light on there, does that keep you from getting your door kicked in if you're a drug dealer? I mean, do you get special concession for that?
I don't know. That would be a
lighter.
Hey, wait, we got to stop here. This guy's got a blue light on.
It's like all the people that used to drive around with like the state police support stickers and stuff on the back of their vehicle, like a badge of honor.
They're very, very upfront when you if you donate to them. And Mr. Hill, we need to be very specific that this decal does not entitle you to any special treatment or anything like that.
Oh yeah, no. And it's kind of a thing, among the law enforcement community. Troopers they're their own beast. They're their own thing.
Yeah. So yeah, no, I've noticed, and I've had positive interactions with both, stateies and local guys. Local guys tend to be a little more connected to the community. I've found whereas state troopers are a little more, what's the term? Serve without pride or without passion or prejudice. So they're just kind of there to enforce the law on that. And it's funny because I won't give his name because I want to get him in trouble. But a friend of mine pulled me over one time. It was over here before the bridge. I was here and I was heading to church one morning and the track arms were down. And I'm like, man, I got to get there here soon, and thankfully I wasn't too far away. So I whipped around and whoop. I mean, and it was a friend of mine who pulled me over, and I pulled over and I'm like, crap. And I looked and I saw who it was. I'm like, oh, double crap, because I mean, he was serious. He's like, walks over to my car and he's like, you better be going to church right now. And I'm like, I am. I'm like, I swear I am going. I'm on my way. He's like, all right. He's like, ever see you do that again? I'll drag out his car and kick your butt. And I was saying he would.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Where's the Bible? I
Yeah,
can put my hand
so-
on real quick.
right.
Yeah.
So, had that been, a statey or a county, I mean, I probably would not have gotten that, kind of
Was that the
reprimand.
tracks over on Pontoon Road?
No, it's on. It's right there where where the overpass is now, the quote unquote new one.
Yeah, the one next to Midwest Petroleum.
Maybe.
Ruler Foods.
Yeah, right there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
that's the
Pontoon Road.
Pontoon.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that's been like how many years now, bro? I think you're good.
Well, all I
think
can
you're
say
really
is
good.
when I moved in 2007, there was no overpass there.
Yeah,
When
those
I
were the-
moved back.
Those were the death tracks, bro.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
really
A
were.
lot of incidents there.
But I mean, I do think that it's important to have a positive relationship, with local law and just be respectful. I think that's really all anyone really wants. Everybody wants to get out of the situation alive. If you got to go to court, so what? At least you're not going to, leave in a stretcher or something like that. So I think it's just really important just to respect your local law enforcement, and even if you don't like them, you got to respect them. So
I got that
awesome.
picture of the carnival grounds that we were talking about earlier.
Oh yeah, throw it
Yeah,
up there.
Put that up there. That's what it looked like. You can see the bridge over to the left.
Yep.
And the toll house at the beginning of the bridge there, where they're
Yeah.
building all that stuff now, and then the fairgrounds there, or whatever carnival they wanted to call it, was on the other side of the street.
And that
awesome.
was 19.
I don't even
Is there
know.
a date on there?
Doesn't look like it, but it's been gone for a very, very long time.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been cool. It'd be cool if something like that was still there. Or, I mean, this new park that they're building, will be kind of awesome also. So, Kim, what's going on? Anything coming up that we need to talk about
Sweeney Todd at the Fresco
this weekend?
This weekend. We're really looking forward to it. It's kind of a darker play.
Mhm.
I don't know that. Have you seen it? Do you know
I've
it?
seen it before, yeah.
Okay, so I have
Yeah, I've seen
not,
it.
and I don't like
Not for
gore and that
kids.
sort of thing.
You'll like it. It's good.
But now that I have, because I'm always at the Al Fresco when we
Mhm.
got these things going
Yeah.
on, I'm catching pieces of, the play here and there. Two things stick out right off get go. The set is amazing.
Nice.
There is some talented worker bees over there,
Nice.
and there is a meat grinder that I got to watch be built, and that was amazing. The music, there is some very talented singers in this production, and it's a large
Oh yeah,
production.
it is a production.
Mhm.
I
So-
know a little bit about the
Ticket
cast.
Friday,
Mhm.
Saturday, Sunday, 2 weekends in a row.
Special
so-
tickets this time also in the balcony.
Yeah, and oh my gosh, I forgot about that. Thank you for
That's
saying
a cool
that.
area.
The VIP is in this particular play. I can see why these are coveted seats because it is a 2-story play,
Mhm.
and there's so much action going on. You have a bird's eye view of the entire set, kind of like Big Bird on Sesame Street. You're getting it all. Definitely worth it. And I've been told that Mrs. Lovett's pies
Mhm.
are
Meat
quite
pies.
the appetizer for the VIP
All right.
section.
Nice.
So
Heck
So we
yeah.
actually have some breaking news here. I want to go ahead and just kind of announce this real quick. If you are down here, you'll go ahead and throw that up there, Bill.
Yep.
So if you are down here, Jenny's told us that 2200 block
Benton,
over the
yeah.
Alphabet Streets, State PD, GCPD, Pontoon PD, SWAT, and Fire Department. Apparently, there's a guy over there threatening to blow up a house on Benton, and he's apparently armed.
Mm.
Streets are blocked off. So
I think it's
is that over now?
resolved now, right?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I was
I've
getting
been
ready to
sitting here,
text a
so I
friend. He
don't know.
lives on Benton. I'm wondering if it's a certain individual.
Yeah,
that's-
they've done Benton.
Well,
Benton
I seen a
also.
few things that we were thinking, all of the above.
Okay. All right.
Shoot.
Well, that's I do like that viewer comments like that come
Yeah,
in
me
to kind of keep us, apprised of the situation. We don't
Because we are deep in the complex.
Huh?
We are deep in the complex,
Oh, we're good.
snuggled directly between theater,
get theater.
and the Garden Gate.
Yep.
Things could be happening out there and we wouldn't even know it.
I'm
No.
okay with that.
It's like a little bunker in here, except
Yeah.
It is. So awesome. Well, guys, check out Sweeney Todd this weekend and next weekend. So if you don't get a chance to see it this weekend, kind of nice that they're doing 2 weekends because I'm out of town this weekend. So next weekend I'll be able to to catch my daughter in
Shelby.
it.
Oh, that's
So,
right.
Yep,
Okay.
yep. So I'm pretty
She
excited
never
about that.
disappoints.
No. So check that out. Floor seats or VIP seats. I mean, there's not a bad seat in the
No,
house.
there is not.
So check those out. The next 2 weeks, we will still have Nick on next week, but our candidate shows are coming up because voting day is March 19th, correct?
It is.
Okay,
And
so
some of these same topics that we talked about tonight, we're going to be discussing with
Yep.
that level of legislators.
Yeah.
Because they're the ones that take it to the next level,
right.
that takes it to the governor. And if it doesn't change right now, you see the slippery slope we're on.
Right. So right now, I know that on the 18th, we do have Representative Ellick that has confirmed. She'll be on the show. We have extended an invitation out to her opponent as well. So we're waiting to hear back from Nick Kreftopoulos. Is that how you pronounce his last name? So waiting to hear back from him. And I want to put an invitation out there if you're running for any public office at this point over the next 2 weeks, reach out to us because we do want to give you an opportunity to be on the show and talk to people. I will tell you that our candidate viewership really skyrockets.
It does.
We really have a lot of people that watch that because they want to hear what's going on from the candidate's mouth, not so much that they want to read it on a website or whatever. And the only rule that we really have here is that you do not tell us why we should not vote for the other person.
Ground rules of the 62040.
Yep, that's
Hype
it.
your candidate, don't bash your opponent.
That's right. We want to vote. We want to know why we should vote for you. We could give two shits about why we shouldn't vote for someone else.
Yeah.
So come on the show. We're happy to have you on. We do as much as we can. We agree to equal airtime for everybody when they come on. Sometimes these shows run a little bit longer, so hang out with us. But if you do want some information directly from some of your candidates' mouths, come right here to our show next week. That's when we're going to start, be 7:15 here at Studio B, right behind Garden Gate Tea Room, which I kind of failed to mention that earlier about where we're at. I mean, it's very important that people know that, this show is actually made possible by, sponsors we have from time to time, but most importantly, our biggest supporter, Brenda Whitaker down here in her complex here where Board Gamery is located. Garden Gate Tea Room is located here. If you want some fantastic lobster bisque, come check them out. Also, if you just want to grab a game, coffee, buy a book, read a book, dessert, come down here and check it out.
Board Gamery. And then right down the hall from the Board Gamery is the Downtown Diner.
Mm-hmm.
And if you haven't had a chance to drive by in the last week, please do, because we have some beautiful lights out.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
Awesome.
So
awesome. Yeah. So come down here and check out the show. If you want to watch something live, come down here also. We've got this beautiful window out here that, you can sit there, watch the show live. And we just welcome you guys here. So anything else?
That's it.
All right.
That is it. We hope you're better next week. It was a pleasure having you.
Yeah, no, it was
Please
really.
let us know where you land if you do land somewhere in the blue line, and we'd always like to support you.
Heck yeah, I appreciate it. Appreciate being on the show. It's been been an awesome time.
You're not just a participant, you're a watcher also, which we appreciate that,
Yeah.
So, but so guys, check us out next Monday, 7:15, right here live from Studio B, provided I'm still breathing.